Program Director and Co-Chair, and our Co-Chair, Ms. Azola, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Platin Nzimande, Cabinet colleagues, delegates from government, organized labor, business, and broader civil society, invited guests from international community, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On this month, Women's Month, in our calendar, we extend warm greetings and best wishes to all participants at this 4th Human Resource Development Council Summit. This summit takes place 2 days after we commemorated Women's Day, which is a reminder of what still needs to be done towards the full emancipation of women and fulfillment of the aspirations of those who marched to the Union buildings in 1956. In pursuance of their aspirations, we should consider how this summit advances the struggle against poverty, inequality, patriarchy, prejudice, and exclusion of women, people with disabilities, and key populations from accessing skills and broader development opportunities across all facets of life. The summit also takes place under unprecedented conditions presented by the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic that has disrupted many aspects of life, including health, our economy, and livelihoods. At an economic level, recent results from the Quarter Labor Force Survey reveals that in the first quarter of 2021, structural unemployment stood at 32.6%, and this figure is worse amongst young people, standing at 46.3%, and among university graduates at 9.3%. These statistics, Program Director, are real and reflect faces of stifled and deferred dreams, hopes and opportunities, and capacities. They are also an outcry of our country's human wealth that is not fully explored. Notably, Statistics South Africa further tells us that from these stats, young people and African black women in particular are the most vulnerable. Whilst education remains a fundamental part of the solution to this problem, there are other contributory issues like access to healthcare, basic services, and public transport that are equally important in improving these stats for the better. However, for this summit, we are limiting ourselves to ensuring that we agree on policies and systems that will improve educational outcomes and also ensure that young people stay in school until they attain a qualification, thereby placing them on an equal footing with their peers as they compete in the labor market. Equally, we must, Program Director, address these issues of young people that drop out of out of schools at various points of their schooling prior to attaining their matric qualifications. Failure to address these shortcomings adds more numbers to the cohort of young people that are not in employment, that are not in education or training. The implications of delaying this response are obvious. It means this is a cohort of young people that are robbed of practicing their natural talents. It also means families are robbed of agents of change who could be contributing positively to uplifting their families as well as communities, our country, and the world. Therefore, our role as government, civil society, organized labor, and the private sector is to reverse and transcend these inequalities which threaten South Africa's social cohesion and nation-building project. Without urgently and tangibly addressing inequalities in society, nation formation becomes a statement of intention rather than a statement of fact. Therefore, the organizing theme of this summit, which is skills required for the 21st century, is very relevant in the South African context in ensuring that no one is left behind as we implement measures to rebuild and grow our economy. In essence, Program Director, this summit should deliberate on how the human resource development strategy is recalibrated to be skills-based, innovation-led, and entrepreneurial-focused, serving as an anchor for our economic reconstruction and recovery plan. As you know, Program Director, the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan is premised on reviving the economy that has been devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic through investment in employment creation, building relevant skills and training for the economy, industries, and jobs for the future. It is, however, encouraging that the objectives of this fourth HRDC summit focuses mainly on building the foundation and skills for a transformed economy and society, building a capable and ethical developmental state. These objectives are significant since the HRDC, as a multi-stakeholder advisory body, is uniquely positioned to ensure that we capacitate those unemployed, those in workplaces, and those still in our schooling system with the necessary requisite skills that can respond to the new world and to make South Africa globally competitive. As President Ramaphosa stated, opening quote, "We are determined not merely to return our economy to where it was before the coronavirus, but to forge a new economy in a new global reality." As such, ours as the broader HRDC family is to use the revised HRDC strategy to address four broad challenges of poverty and inequality, the quality of education, absorptive capacity of our economy, and social cohesion that will cumulatively contribute towards the attainment of our national development plan's outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, before deliberating further on this fourth summit, let us reflect briefly on what was agreed to in 2018 at the third HRDC summit to ensure that we underline policy and programmatic continuity so that we avoid reinventing the wheel. As social partners, we have to ask ourselves the question whether between the period of the last summit and this one, have we sizably delivered on equipping and capacitating our young people with the necessary practical solutions? In her closing remarks at the third HRD summit, the then Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Naledi Pandor, said, I open quote, "We need to offer practical opportunities for skills development to a very diverse range of young people and adults. Our partnership must focus on critical literacy, numeracy skills and include occupational and professional programs which lead young people into work and entrepreneurship positions. Our summits must provide hope to young people and must clearly indicate that we know their plight and we have solutions." Close quote. These assertions remain correct even today. For if we are to recalibrate our human resource development efforts to be skills-based, innovation-led, and entrepreneur-focused, we must be deliberate in implementing resolutions that we take at each and every summit that we hold. That is why, at the end of this summit, we need to emerge with a concrete plan of action that will demonstrate measurable progress by the time we meet for the next summit. In our view, the HRDC is a critical component in these matters to ensure that, among others, it seamlessly integrates and stewards pragmatically the deployment of resources and capacities to achieve better outcomes, and it is a preferred platform for sharing best practices in order to ultimately address equity and redress in skills training and retraining in the 21st century. Program Director, it is encouraging to learn that this summit will focus on building the foundation for a transformed economy and society centered on, for example, early childhood development, as well as on neglect resolutions. We presume there will also be strategic and thematic continuity between this fourth summit and the previous ones in areas of implementing pathways and partnership between training institutions, labor and industry, integrating entrepreneurship into curricula in order to grow job creators as opposed to job seekers, and sharing best practices and thus emphasize evidence-based decision-making. Building and rebuilding required for the 21st century necessitate that South Africa and the African continent leverage on opportunities presented by global challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic to leapfrog our capabilities and industrialize through, among others, local manufacturing of vaccines in order to respond to current pandemics and any similar pandemics in the future. As South Africa, under the coordination of the Interministerial Committee on COVID-19 vaccines, we are seeking to maximize opportunities for collaboration with partners in research and development in the region and in the BRICS community. This will expand existing capacity for vaccines development and manufacturing, thereby benefiting our country and the continent, which currently has the least access to COVID-19 vaccines. Already, this initiative is bearing fruits as the country hosts the first vaccine technology transfer hub that will immensely contribute in overcoming the current COVID-19 pandemic and respond to the future health emergencies. Ladies and gentlemen, discussions on skills for the 21st century also talks to suitably responding to dictates of the changing world of work that is shaped by realities of automation, artificial intelligence, and robotics. The Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution made recommendations that are focused on investing in human capital and future industries. Similarly, the National Youth Policy also echoes the fact that Fourth Industrial Revolution should be seen as a cross-cutting pillar across sectors and institutions. In this regard, the HRDC has an important facilitating role to play, working with social partners to ensure that there is high absorption capacity of young people and women, and set aside in sectors such as agriculture, agro-processing, mining, tourism, oceans economy, as well as service industries. However, all this may remain a pipe dream in the presence of a moribund, incapacitated, highly bureaucratic state that is not result-orientated. The building, therefore, of a capable, ethical, and developmental state is therefore equally critical to the fulfillment of the goals we set ourselves to achieve in this summit. It is thus reassuring that Day 3 of this summit will be dedicated to discussing pragmatic pillars on building a developmental state and a capable one, to drive required reforms that meaningfully contribute towards economic recovery and reconstruction. We must prioritize improving public service delivery and our administrative capacity. In this instance, public service innovation will be needed to provide practical solutions to address and unlock service delivery challenges. Alternatives for state capacitation in a context of diminishing financial resources and avenues to build public trust and address governance deficit that prompts service delivery protests. Ladies and gentlemen, We need also to be alive to the fact that no single one of us, including government, may alone succeed in the task of building skills required for the 21st century. We can only win by valuing the role of solidarity between government, organized labor, organized business, and civil society. It is only when we actively and meaningfully work together in supporting the work of the HRDC that we can ultimately set the economy on a high growth path, which also combines growth with equity and redress. A business as usual attitude is no longer tenable. We are required to emphasize a transdisciplinary approach that seeks to transcend the artificial barriers between government and industry, that integrates outcomes from the public and private sectors, and seek to close the structural gap between market demands as well as societal needs. The growing numbers of young people that are not in employment, not in education or training, as well as the events of the recent riots, are a daily reminder of the existential task demanded from all of us. The recent riots in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng provinces is also a reminder that our efforts in a COVID-19 pandemic environment of building back better should be anchored on ensuring the security of persons, security of property, essential services, and business, establishing with all organs of the state a coordinated effort in rebuilding our economy, focusing on the reignition of township and rural economies for employment and entrepreneurship creation, and addressing the generalized anxiety induced by the unrest by rolling out social cohesion as well as moral regeneration programs. In the final instance, the fruits of democracy will be incomplete unless the youth and women have access to opportunities in order to lead their lives the way they desire. The past 27 years has given us ample lessons to draw on and decide what works and what does not, so that we improve our present circumstances and shape a better future for our country and the world. This collective task falls on our generation's shoulders to address, and we dare not postpone it. Program Director, allow me to wish this 4th Human Resource Development Council Summit success, and we look forward to receiving the implementation plan from the deliberation of this summit. And we thank you very much. Thank you.